Hey, what's going on? JD here, and this is the Daily JD. Thanks for tuning in, guys. As always, remember, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and get that bell button checked so you get notifications when we do, in fact, go live. And this, of course, is the Daily JD. And if you don't get notifications, you can always catch me on my Twitter, Instagram, Twitch as well, over at Pain Inc. I always tweet out before I go live. So hopefully you had a fantastic weekend and week last week. As I mentioned last week, we are in the once a week category for the Daily JD. So we are going to be streaming every Tuesday, 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. For those of you who want to see the Thursday show back, we just need to get the numbers back on the Tuesday show to let me know that we want, things to sort of grow. So like I said, once we hit double digits on a regular basis on the Tuesday show, we will definitely add the Thursday show back because demand will have it. Hey, good to see you, Craftsmith. Thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate it, man. Hopefully things are going well. Sorry to hear that you got cut back at work, and that kind of sucks. So I feel for you, man. It's not easy out there currently for a lot of people in the province and the city that I live in. So as is tradition, anything that you guys want to talk about, by all means, throw it into the chat. Let me know, and we can definitely discuss what you have going on. Hello, Canadian Pinoy Radio, Montreal. Thank you so much for tuning in. And of course, I want to thank our Patreon supporters. That is none other than Reviewy McReviewface, as well as our YouTube supporters. That, of course, is Mums Universe and Josh WRB. So thank you so much, guys, for supporting us week after week. You guys make things possible, like all the cool music that we have for our videos and vlogs and so on and so forth. That's where that money goes. So I appreciate that deeply. Craftsman says, so far this week hasn't started out great. Got my hours cut at work yesterday. Yeah, I saw that tweet, man. It's or Facebook post. I see it somewhere. I'm on a few platforms, and I don't necessarily know where I see things all the time. Usually it's Twitter, because Twitter is the place to typically find me. And in fact, it was funny. I wasn't answering my phone, so Josh got on Twitter, and I responded 2 seconds later, and he was laughing about that. He says you can send you a text message or call you, and you'll get a better response if you send a direct message on Twitter, which is probably true. Craftsman says, yep, small business are not doing well in Alberta right now, and it's true. I mean, things have been slow for quite some time. I know even myself personally with my own business and stuff like that, it has been painfully slow at times. So yeah, it's definitely a different time out there, and it has an effect on everybody, which is interesting because there's some things. I mean, politically, things are all messed up in this country. I think we kind of mirror the United States in a lot of ways. Like, some people were complaining, the Prime Minister here he was in Winnipeg and bought a bunch of donuts from a local donut shop that tends to cost a little more when you buy from a local bakery versus a Tim Hortons, and that was sort of the complaint. But the irony of it all is that at the end of the day, you're supporting small business that hires people directly. The money stays in the country, stays in the community, all that kind of stuff. It's not a bad thing. So I do believe that going out and supporting local businesses is a good thing. It's no secret that I love beer. I've changed some of my habits. I just go get a growler filled at the local brewery. I figure all the money stays within the city. It's spent, the people that they hire there, the company itself, all that kind of stuff. It is small, it's micro. So that's what I choose to do. And to be honest, it doesn't cost me any more to do that. So, you can do that. Craftsmith asks, how was Jay and Silent Bob thing at the Globe? Yeah, it's funny. I was going to talk about that, and we shall do that right now because that is the perfect lead in. It was freezing cold outside. It was absolutely freezing. We were unsure at what time it started. We bought these tickets months ago. Myself and Josh WRB went, and we bought these tickets for Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, which is out on DVD today. So if you haven't seen it and want to buy it, it's on everywhere, which is cool. I'll be picking it up. I know I enjoyed the film thoroughly. I don't think you could really spoil the movie because, it's a Jay and Silent Bob film, but it was a ton of fun. But we got there, it was like 6 o'clock, because that's what the ticket said. We weren't sure. The Globe had a different time on their website. We were unsure, and we didn't want to miss anything. And it was just kind of like, we'll show up at 6. If don't let us in till later, we will, go across the street to Paper Street and talking about small businesses. I mean, it's interesting that place is a different place now. It's not Paper Street anymore. I didn't even know what it's called, but we went there. I mean, cool enough to have a beer after the thing. But the plan was to go down there, go to Paper Street, have a beer, walk back across, and cool. But the funny thing was when we got there was a lineup already, and it was like, wow, like people are lining up for this, and it's crazy. So we lined up at 6 o'clock or just before 6. And I don't think we were in there till like almost 7 o'clock. So it was like minus 30 outside. We stood out in the freezing cold, and the line sort of moved forward a little bit. It's not because people were going in. It was just because people were like getting closer to each other to huddle up and heat up and warm up. So it was kind of that thing. We did get in eventually, and heated up. We got great seats. For paying regular thing, we were almost right up at the front. We were just off at the side, which was great. Kevin Smith is entertaining as always. You can ask him. He had a Q&A afterwards. There was a total of 4 questions, and this is the funny thing with Kevin and the awesome thing about Kevin is you can ask Kevin 4 questions, and that will take up an hour and a half, 2 hours of time. Like he can talk. The man can talk. He can tell stories. And that's, what makes him a great filmmaker is that he has his story to tell, and he tells it very, very well. As far as the film goes, exactly what I expected. It was a ton of fun, lots of good laughs, made me laugh, see all my favorite characters, dick and fart jokes. It was just good all the way around. I mean, if you go there expecting a Jay and Silent Bob movie, that's exactly what you got. And like I said, the fact that Kevin Smith was there, talked afterwards. I always love hearing Kevin's stories. It was nice because he talked about some of the things that I think I talked about just prior to it on the last live stream. And he talked about some of those things. He talked about Twilight of the Mallrats. He talked about Clerks 3. Talked about where the story was going to go and all those kind of things. Now, I heard that stuff before, and this obviously just confirms what I heard. So I was ahead of the curve. There you go. But, I did learn some new stuff as well that, Jay and Silent Bob actually had some segments from the Mallrats script that was going out the first time. If you may recall on Instagram, a few years ago, he would have all these pictures of people, holding up the 2 sign for Mallrats. He had Shannon Doherty. He had all these actors from the original, that were coming back to do the film, and it never happened because of some things with, Miramax and all that kind of stuff. And it never happened. So he took a portion of that script because he owns the intellectual property for Jay and Silent Bob, which is also cool. And that's what I love about Kevin Smith. He's very open, and he talks about the business side of things and what he does. And, he owns Jay and Silent Bob, the name, in its entirety. He doesn't own Mallrats in its entirety. That's owned by Universal Miramax. He doesn't own, some of the other things like Clerks. That's owned, again, by another company as well. But he does own the rights to Jay and Silent Bob, so he kind of gets to do whatever he wants with those characters and bring them back whenever he wants and merchandise them as he chooses and pleases and so on and so forth. He told an interesting story about how when he got his first lawyer, because he never had a lawyer for a long time because he was a small independent filmmaker, that he just, he wanted to be able to use these characters and other things because he had written other movies. Initially when he wrote Clerks, there was Jay and Silent Bob, but then of course there were things like Mallrats that proceeded after that, as well as Chasing Amy, and Jay and Silent Bob, even Dogma, are characters throughout all his sort of universe. And the lawyer says, well, I'll do one up. And he came back and he's like, you guys own it. And he's like, awesome. So that's allowed him to do some of those things. But it just goes to show you, how important intellectual property can be sometimes. And that sometimes, when you sell a movie, you sell your soul, to get it done, that sometimes in the future, you don't know what's necessarily going to happen. Like, I mean, just to relate a similar story, when I started out with the Trail and Park Boys, which was my mountain bike trilogy, when I did the first film, I sold the digital online rights to a company by the name of Total Vid. They paid me a lump sum, which allowed me to, get a bunch of money to fund the second film, which was, more traveling, more riders, all that kind of stuff. So I got that money for that. But I sold the rights to it, for online distribution. Ironically, I got to buy them back when Total Vid, basically started to liquidate stuff. They were just selling the technology portion, which was online distribution of video. And I was able to buy it back. So, I mean, I was kind of lucky in those regards as well. So, I mean, it's always very, very entertaining, when these things kind of happen. Craftsman says, I didn't know the DVD was out. I'm going to have to pick that up. The interesting thing with that, though, is that I've been looking for the DVD. I do like having physical copies of things. Digital's cool. I like digital as well. I always like having a digital copy as well. But I like having the physical DVD, and I've been looking, and I can't find it anywhere in Canada, which is kind of weird. But, maybe it's just U.S. distribution thus far. I don't know. But you can definitely buy it in the Canadian's iTunes store. You can buy it on YouTube, for example, which ironically, I have a bunch of digital stuff because I used to buy the Blu-ray digital copies, and then you get the film transferred to your Google now, because the company that used to distribute it is now no more. So it's on Google, which is cool. So that is really awesome. Hey, Happy New Year, Brian. Good to see you. Long time no talk. And you just reminded me of something that we're going to talk about in a second. So we will get to that. Hey, Rocks and Socks. Good to see you. It was nice bumping into you when I was out shopping during the holidays. Hopefully you had a fantastic holiday season as well. I agree. Physical copies are the best, Ryan. And just so you know that Poutine Week is coming up. If you guys are interested in doing a meetup for Poutine Week, again, by all means, let me know. It's one of those kind of Calgary events that I really love doing and love supporting, because it does help things like Meal Share, which helps buy meals for the less fortunate. It's always a good time. There is a ton of beer, a ton of poutine, which I always love. So if you guys are interested and down for doing that, I will definitely, get that all kind of set up. Hey, Andy, what's going on? Did you see the Edmonton Journal review of Kevin Smith's appearance in Edmonton? It was a super negative review. No, I didn't see that. I will have to check that out. It's that's unfortunate, because, like I said, Kevin's entertaining. I mean, I think people either love Kevin Smith or they hate Kevin Smith. He jokes about a lot of the critique that he gets, which I find, again, like, I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan, and, I can see parallels in a lot of the things. Like, I mean, when he speaks, it always speaks to me. He's obviously on a way different scale than I've ever been, in my movie making career. Like, I've never had, millions of dollars to make a film, period, but I had my time making film, and, I definitely know some of the business aspect to it, although I don't have Ben Affleck that I can pay $15 an hour to act in my latest, my latest movie. That just doesn't work like that. And I don't have the pull, which is funny, because he told another story about how, he managed to basically get Ben Affleck the Daredevil film, but it was filming the same time that it was his Jersey Girl. And, he kind of, kind of played played him a little bit, but interesting. No, I didn't see it. I'll definitely have to do it. But I know people, sometimes say that, Kevin is a one-trick pony. He's got only one story. He gets a lot of, negative things for example, Yoga Hosers, which was his last film before Jay and Silent Bob reboot, which he got a ton of hate for being, a terrible film. And, actually at that night as well, he sort of relayed the story as well that Mallrats, was kind of the same thing. Mallrats, when it was released, had a terrible debut at the box office, did absolutely poor, but a lot of people found it. It found its audience on, DVD and VHS, and, it found its audience through that route. And, it has a huge cult following at that point, to the point that, again, he's releasing Twilight of the Mallrats, upcoming. And, it's interesting. He laid out the timeline as well. Which was very cool because I didn't know. For those of you who follow him as well, this is turning into being a Kevin Smith stuff. I haven't even got to the YouTube stuff. Who follow him know that he was filming in Moose Jaw just over a year ago. He was filming in Moose Jaw. He was filming, Moose Jaw, the movie, which is part of his horror trilogy, which comes from the universe of, Tusk, as well as Yoga Hosers, which is about a moose, man-eating moose. That's been filmed. But it's waiting to be released because Twilight of the Mallrats and Clerks 3 actually interject in between those that film. So at the end of the day, we're gonna have to wait for the horror aspect of it, and he has those too. So he's busy, and he is busy working as well. But yeah, like I said, everybody's going to have their haters. Not everybody's going to have a fan. Critics are there to do his jobs. To be honest, I mean, dick and fart jokes aren't everybody's thing. And, you have to go in there expecting that. So there you go. Brian says, poutine. Hopefully you're down for that this year. Hopefully you're down for this. Craftsman says, I would be down for Poutine Week again, but it depends on how things are financial-wise when it happens. Absolutely, man. Totally understand that kind of thing. And I mean, the thing is with all those kind of things is, always try to do the events where you can like show up and hang out. Nobody's obligated to eat anything or do anything, or it's just kind of there. So hopefully things are going good for you at that point, and definitely, because last year's Poutine Week walk was a ton of fun. We met at the Mill Street Brewery. We had poutine there. Then we walked around. We did a photo walk. Did some exploring. We got a great, thanks to Bent's, a great shot of the group, because we found a flagpole where the flag wire could run, and we ran a GoPro up to the top of the flagpole, and we took a photograph that way. So that was awesome to get that done. Nice thing is that I have the micro drone that is legal to fly in the city now, so we don't even need to do that. We can just pop up a micro drone in a park. It has to be a park or an empty school ground and stuff like that, because there's still some rules, and get it done that way. So I'm excited for that as well too. And I'll have some videos coming up once I get the Transport Canada confirmation of a couple things as well. So there you go. Hey, Stephanie, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate that. Thanks for dropping into the stream. So if you haven't done so already, please do smash that like button. So yeah, I mean, Poutine Week is something that we're going. I've already kind of communicated with them. They were doing a Vancouver Poutine Week. They've asked for submissions for Calgary, so it's a go ahead. Hopefully, it'll be a fun time like it was last year. Last year, myself and Brian, we went to the Gravy Bowl. That was a super fun time. If you haven't watched that video, that's on the channel as well. By all means, check that out. And it was really cool because that was my first collaboration with Brian and Brian's Republic. It was super fun. And then we got to do the podcast after that. So all super cool stuff. So again, if you have anything that you want to discuss, by all means, throw it in the chat. I'm going to kind of switch to the news portion, I guess, of things. So we're going to talk about YouTube and a beta that they got rolling out, which I think is very, very interesting for creators. It's small now, so obviously they're just testing things, but I think it's something that will come out in the future. And what it allows people to do is sell advertising direct to their channel via YouTube, which is kind of cool. So it allows you to, basically have advertising placed against your videos via the same sort of back end that YouTube has to have advertising placed against your videos, but it's negotiated from the creator's point of view. And I kind of really like the idea of that. Hopefully we'll see more. There's not a huge amount of details. They did discuss it a little bit, but the details were a little bit vague. But the nice thing is that if you are somebody that is in a locale, so for example, myself being in Calgary, and a lot of the creators that actually watch this being in Calgary, just because of the nature of my vlogs and what I do, is that you can negotiate, advertising to run against it. So we're not talking about sponsorship. So we're not talking about sponsored videos or paid product placement or anything like that. It's just running advertising against your videos specifically. So the nice thing is, if you have a locale or you have a relationship with certain companies, you can definitely negotiate that. The nice thing is, though, too, is that the pay rate would probably be somewhat higher than what you are getting through YouTube in terms of views, which is really kind of nice, and you would be able to negotiate that. Again, it is something in beta. It is something that they are working on. The full details aren't there, and they're working with a small number of creators. Hopefully it gets made available across the board, and it's not like some of the other programs that they have that are just kind of piecemealed out, because there are definitely steps and levels to YouTube. For example, YouTube Stories, you have to have 10,000 subscribers, which I'm not near, in order to use YouTube Stories, which I really kind of wish was available to everybody, because I think it's a great way to communicate, and I know people love them. I see a lot of people's Facebook stories and Instagram stories all the time, even though I don't actively use them on those platforms. But, it's just a nice way to kind of get snippets. So for a good example, I was out, like I said, me and Josh WRB, we were out watching, Kevin Smith and the Jay and Silent Bob reboot down at the Globe. There's not a vlog in there. There's not a whole vlog, but in order to share a little bit of what I'm doing, sometimes it'd be nice to show snippets, and it would be nice to show snippets sort of leading up into things. So it would have been kind of cool to have a nice clip of Kevin Smith in there, or, just hanging out in the Globe, or even just freezing our ass outside. So, that's one thing I would like to see in the future, but we'll see how it rolls out. And interestingly enough, is for those of you who have been using TikTok, TikTok is rolling out a similar thing. What it does is it actually, and it is in beta as well, is it matches advertisers with TikTokers, I guess we'll call them. I don't know what's the name for people who use TikToks. There's YouTubers. Are they talkers? Are they tickers? Are they TikTokers? Are they... Who knows? There's got to be a name for them. I don't know what it is, because I'm definitely not that hip. But what it does is it allows the advertisers to pair with the creators on the app for advertising opportunities, which again is kind of cool and nice to see. Although it is ironic, in other TikTok news, is that the Department of Defense in the United States issued a memo advising their military personnel, as well as people that are part of the Department of Defense, as well as other government agencies, not to use TikTok. Why? Because the company is actually owned by a company in mainland China, and any information that app gathers, the Chinese government can force that app to hand it over to the government lock, stock, and barrel, because there's no protection of privacy ruling in China. So interesting thing. So they're advising against it. But I mean, the thing has been growing massively. It is the most rapidly growing application, social media application out there. And it's doing absolutely crazy numbers for those of you. So there you go. Gen Z, laugh out loud. There you go. I'm totally out of the Gen stuff. Like, I mean, I'm a Gen Xer. That's when I'm from. I don't know, anything. I know there's millennials, but millennials just seems to encompass everybody. It just that just seems to get a little broader. And I know there's definite dates. I just don't know them off the top of my head. So yeah, I mean, that's what is essentially going on. Other than that, not a ton on my end of things. There will be a new video on Wednesday. It's a gear unboxing for those of you who want like a little hint of what it is, and it's actually a really cool piece of gear. Because there is a lapse in time between when I do things and when they actually get published. I've been using it for a fair bit, and I'm fairly impressed with it. I actually do like it a lot. So it is a cool piece of equipment. So please do check that out. I'm Gen Y. Again, like, I don't even know where people fall, man. Like, it's just, to me, all that stuff doesn't matter. Maybe it's just me being old. Maybe that's a generational thing. I don't even know, but there you go. So if you have anything that you want to discuss, by all means, throw it in the chat. Let me know what you would like to discuss. And I mean, it's been good. I've been having a good time. It's been a nice, I'll say, break. It's still kind of weird. I kind of have the itch to go out vlogging, but it's been, it's nice now and getting to it. Hopefully this week, maybe we'll start something. I'll be at Lexus on Fire on Thursday. If you do happen to be there, I will be working, so do say hello. And I always do encourage people to say hello when they do see me. I do, I don't mind those kind of things, so I never feel bad, waving at me or anything like that. By all means, say hi. But I'll be at Alexis on Fire on Thursday. Which is good, which is kind of funny because I'm kind of bookending things. My last show was City and Color, which is Dallas Green, who is the guitarist for Alexis on Fire, but his other band. So now I've photographed Dallas like the last 2 times I've sort of been out. For those of you who missed last week's video, go by all means check it out. There is a contest baked into there. It is about photography. It is about printing your work. I do have a print in there. It's a 13x19 print. So if you are interested in that, it's one of the works that I've taken. For those of you who, follow my other socials, will know that, or a big fan of Rush will know, that Neil Peart, the drummer of Rush, passed away, which is, really sad. I mean, Rush is one of those great Canadian bands. They are, by all means, one of the best, progressive rock bands. They are the progressive rock band in Canada, and they are probably one of the top progressive rock bands in the world. And the passing of Neil, who passed away from cancer, was bad news, and it was, it's hit a lot of people in a lot of different ways. Anyways, in that video, I print off a picture of Neil. I was actually printing off a picture of Dallas Green for the video, but because of the news, I decided to do this. So I have a 13x19 print of Neil Peart that I am giving away. It is a 1 of 1. So there will never be a print of that again. It was taken when I photographed Rush during their last tour. I kind of, when I heard Neil passed, I went back to my photo archives. I went through all my Neil Peart things, as well as, went through my archives of photographs of Rush Finals tour. I went through there, and there's a ton of photographs that I never sort of put out or were ever released publicly. So I took one of those photographs that I liked and printed it out. So it's there. It's all you have to do to enter is leave a comment on the video. Just sort of say where you'd hang it up and what your favorite Rush memory is, and that's as simple as it is. There's no simpler way. So if you're a Rush fan and that's something that interests you, by all means go over there. If you're not a Rush fan and you know Rush fans, let them know, because again, it's not this wasn't it wasn't like this is a Neil Peart giveaway and that's all kind of stuff. It's not even really shown in the title page. You would never know looking at it. You'd have to watch the video. So if you do know somebody, it's there. I would love to see that get into the hands of somebody who is a Rush fan. And again, it's a unique thing. It's a one-on-one. I don't sell my work to the general public at all, very rarely. It's something, like I said, it's something unique. If you're a fan of Neil, it'll be the one thing, and for all it's worth, it's it's a rare time that I actually release something like that. So by all means, like I said, if you know a Rush fan, I'll let them know. So that's kind of it. If you've enjoyed the video, please, do smash that like button. I appreciate you guys tuning in as always. And thank you so much. It's good to see the numbers up. Just as a reminder, again, at the end of the stream here, that we are going live on Tuesdays only. So Daily JD is now Tuesdays only. We've gone from 7 days a week to 1 day a week. Crazy enough. We'll add Thursday back in, like I said, once we get into double digits all the time and all that kind of stuff. I appreciate everything. To check out the new video tomorrow. And until next time, see you guys, and have a good one. We're going to leave you with some Avengers.